You're listening to the Co-Creator Network. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our show tonight. For those of you who listened to my show last week, you know that I interviewed two guests to discuss fear and the tremendous shifts that they've both been able to achieve through much developmental and spiritual work. Part of their success is due to the concepts taught and shared by tonight's guest and her Shift into One program. Before I introduce her, I would like to read a quote, as I often do, but this one is particularly fitting. A teacher is never a giver of truth. He or she is a guide, a pointer to the truth that each student must find for him or herself. This is part of the gift that Sandra Krizakos has. She's a huge-hearted spiritual leader and being, whom I not only consider to be my teacher, but a dear and loving friend. Hi, Sandra. Are you with us?
Oh, my God, Sue, that was beautiful. I'm here. Thank you.
And thank you. Thank you for being here and joining me and all of us. Being part of your group has really been a transformational experience for me, as well as so many others. What I'd like you to do with us tonight is tell us how your work came to be, describe what you teach, a little bit at least, from your intuitive perspective, and give us a little indication of what you envision in the future as a result of this work. That would be really, really wonderful.
Okay. First of all, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you for doing this show because you're bringing on some wonderful, wonderful people. And I listened into your show last week with Michael and Jeff, and they were awesome. They did a wonderful job. And I listened to the show before as well on the numerology, and that was such great fun. So I really enjoy your show. So thank you so much for bringing this out to the world and sharing your light as well. You are in your element, my dear.
Thanks so much. Well, aren't we great? Such a loving pair we are, aren't we?
Yes,
and thank you.
Well, and you know what? That's what it's all about, right? At the end of the day, it's all about love, right? Universal, unconditional love. So to your question, and please interrupt at any point, Sue, okay? Feel free to say whatever you need to say when you need to say it. But the program is called Shift into One. Shift is an acronym for See How Isness Fuels Transformation, and One is an acronym for Our Now Experience. Now, words hold a vibration. Everything is vibration, including words. And each word within the acronym has an energy. And as each individual word rolls into the actual acronym, it actually creates another energy, like a gestalt, where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. So that alone speaks to the vibration of what this work is. This work is really experiential and vibrational in nature more than anything else. So it goes beyond the intellect and to other layers and aspects of your being that actually help to transform. It's a transformative energy, and I think that's what you were alluding to. It actually transforms a person through shattering their belief system. So the mission statement, maybe if I give the mission statement, it'll give a clue as to what I'm talking about to the audience. The mission statement, Shift into One, is to eradicate fear through deprogramming our belief system so that we become responsible for our thoughts, words, feelings, and actions. And we do this by going through the fourth dimension. Now, to get maybe a little bit esoteric, but I know this is an audience that is very progressive, so I know the audience will be receptive to this. But basically, what Shift into One is a fourth dimension clearinghouse, so that we clear the fourth dimension, which is where all of our thoughts and beliefs and emotions exist, on our way towards fifth dimension. If a person actually commits to this work, okay, commits and actually actualizes this work. So it's not just about doing the work, it's about completing and actualizing the work. The work actually has the capacity to take a person to the lowest level of 5D, which is quantum in nature, which is multidimensional in nature. So this work actually has the ability to, and the capacity to transform a person to become their multidimensional self. Does that explain that?
Oh, it's amazing, and it sounds actually more understandable now that I've been there for a fairly long time. I've been with Sandra in her teachings and a lovely group of people for. We just Sandra reminded me it's since the end of September, so it really does make a lot of sense, Sandra, and I think it makes sense anyway. But once you hear a lot of the depth and experience it really, really shifts down into us, to use a pun, but it does.
Yeah, and I think that part of the, and while that, I mean, to speak about it may sound to some people who haven't experienced it, it may sound, do, or how the heck do you do that? The goal, the objective, and I think the what makes this work so wonderful is that it is very applicational. It makes it real, and the way it does this is there are 7 tenets, as you know, Sue. There are 7 tenets on which that are the foundation of this work. And the idea, the thing that's different about these tenets is, when we talk about the tenets so that you understand them on an intellectual level, you get it, okay? But the idea is you don't do anything to change your life. You don't try to live your life according to these tenets. What we do is we say, okay, so here are the 7 tenets, and I want you to go away and do nothing different in your life. Just go and live your life the way you normally do. Continue with your routine, okay? You can go to work, whatever it is you have to do, and allow these tenets to affect you in your daily life. So when you start to have issues, then start bringing these tenets in. And that's the difference. So the tenets come to you as opposed to you coming to the tenets. And that is what makes it one of the reasons in which this work is so effective, because it's when you are in that moment of resistance or in that moment of fear or in that moment of negative thinking or emotion that you start to apply these tenets. It's not where you try to live your life according to these tenets. It's these tenets start to change your life as they come to you. That's the difference. That's what I think is makes it real about this work, because it's not like I'm saying change your life. Just go and live your life and watch. The work will change you. Sometimes the program, level 1 is 12 weeks, as you know, Sue, and people would come up after we'd meet once a week, and then you'd go home and you'd apply some of the exercises and the tenets, and you'd come back, and then we discuss some of the work and all of that, and there would be some exercises, and I had numerous people who came to me and said, I'm so sorry, I feel so guilty, I didn't do any of the exercises, I'm not a good student, I didn't do my homework, and
I was one of those, yeah.
Yes, and you know what? And I said, you know what? Don't worry about it. Because there's no pressure here. Don't worry about it. The work's doing you. And some of the people who did not do the homework experienced the greatest changes. Even one person, as you know, Cheryl, she went on vacation. She said, okay, you know what? I'm on vacation. I want nothing to do with this homework. I don't want you guys to contact me. I'm taking a break from my daily life, from my work, from the stress. I want nothing to do with anything, okay? So I'm shutting myself down, and I'm not in contact for a week. I'm going away to another country, and I'm just having a great time. Well, she had the most profound, life-changing experience during that time, because her guard was down, she was completely open, and that's how higher self gets to you. And as you know, Sue, one of the key tenets is the most important relationship you will ever have in this world, in your life, is that with your higher self. It's not with your husband or your wife or your partner. It's not with your children. It's not with your colleagues. It is with your higher self. And your higher self communicates in ways in which you least expect it, because she or he has to get around your mind and speak to other parts of you. So she or he also often comes through by way of shock or aha, like the aha moments, and that's how he or she can get through to you. And that's what happened in Cheryl's case. She her guard was completely down, and she just wham in a big way.
That's probably the best way, is on vacation, right?
Especially if you know Cheryl, okay? You know Cheryl, she's very in her head. It would have to be pretty hard to get to her.
Yes, for sure, and that's why it was a good time. But for others, would we equate it a little bit to surrendering, even subconscious surrendering, to sort of let it go, let it be, so that we can hear what's out there within ourselves or above ourselves, or however we want to call it? Sandra, would that be appropriate?
Surrendering is key, absolutely is key. This is where I think Eckhart Tolle's work comes into play here in The Power of Now. Yes, surrender, because I think Eckhart Tolle talks about surrendering a lot. And it's very much, it's about allowing and surrendering to that moment. That's part of that's a big part of it. If you recall the noticing exercise, we have what's called the noticing exercise, where you start to notice and become aware of your thoughts, your negative thoughts, and your negative emotions. And the way you notice that is first you bring attention to it, and then you allow it and you release it. While releasing involves that surrendering. You surrender to that moment and you be okay with it. Surrendering is a huge part of it. And it's very hard to surrender to fear. It's when you're feeling fear, what we naturally do is try to bury it or deny it or negate it, rather than saying, oh my God, I'm feeling this fear, and allowing it to come up and out. And what I try to do is compare it to, say your stomach is where you're feeling that fear, okay, say it's like a tube, but try to imagine the tube like it's a Teflon tube, so nothing can stick to it. So the emotions are coming up and out, and there's no snags in that tube, so that it comes up and out for release. If there's any kind of snags, that means there will be a bit of a block. So it's not all coming out for release. So the idea is to embrace that fear, embrace that emotion. And you can only do that by surrendering to it first. You have to allow it. It's going to come out one way or another. If you deny it, it will manifest in the form of sickness, a cancer, heart disease, diabetes, whatever. So better off to let it come out. And let I'm just going to add that because I've been there, that even when, and especially when it feels and it is so painful, just as you're describing, and as Michael mentioned last week, getting right through the middle of that pain is the only way to release it. But it is, as you said from the very beginning, it's hard work, right? It's very, very hard work because we've labeled it as hard. As we start to do this more and more, and as you know, Sue, okay, but it's hard to get to this point. As you start to do it more and more, you start to become familiar with that fear vibration, with that feeling of fear, and you label it less and less, because it is hard work only because we've labeled it as such. Because it's we've labeled it as uncomfortable. We've judged it. Once we can pass through and transcend that judgment, it then becomes a feeling, oh, there it is again. Okay, it's coming up for release. All right, here we go. And up it goes. And then it becomes easier and easier and it's like a muscle you flex, and it becomes easier and easier and easier. And especially when you know that once it comes up and out for release, it means you've come closer and closer to higher self, to God. So it really is just an obstacle created that's turned into an opportunity. So because you know what's up on the other side, it's like, oh, here we go. Here's another one. Oh, that means I'm going to be that much closer after this. That's great. All right, come up. There you go. Thank you.
Beautifully put. Okay, great. So fabulous. Okay, so I still need to understand, or I'd like the others to know how this work happened to you, and where did it come from to you? I mean, I know a lot of it. Well, just you tell us.
Okay. Well, for me, it was experiential. I did experience it, so I experienced a great deal of suffering. So when I speak of this stuff, it is coming from a very knowing perspective. And the work itself, the tenets itself, and the actual information itself came through from me experiencing extreme fear, extreme suffering. And so I transcended. Basically, I had an awakening at the age of 44 where I pretty much lost everything within 72 hours. I lost my relationship, I lost my home, I lost my children, which are animals for me. So I lost within 72 hours everything in my job, everything that I considered, sacred at that point was gone in within 72 hours, and that created such a level of fear that it absolutely shattered. It was so extensive, it's so extreme, it absolutely shattered everything, my belief system, to the point where I would wake up in the middle of the night and just wake up, shoot out of bed with absolute fear, but it was an emotional kind of fear, not a physical kind of fear. And that kind of fear is very, very hard to describe. But as I was feeling it, I also had a voice saying, let this go, release, release. You are literally changing your structure, your body. You are shattering your belief system. You are actually changing who you are. And what I came to understand as I started to do this work more and more was what I was actually doing was I was actually accessing my higher self. So I had rolled my lower self, my ego mind, and my lower self, my third and fourth dimensional version of myself, into my higher self, my multidimensional self. And that's where I had access to all of this information. And that's when I brought this information here. And that is my job now with this work, is not exactly like what you said off the top, Sue. You said it so beautifully, is not to teach anybody anything other than provide them the tools so that they can access this information themselves. I'm not asking you to believe me. I don't want you to believe me. I want you to believe you. I want you to get to that place where you believe you. Don't believe a word I'm saying. Just use the tools if they resonate and believe yourself. That's
right
what
on.
I'm exactly what that's all my job is to show people the tools that were given to me to help them to access themselves. Then my job is to make myself obsolete in a person's life. So just to give you a quick image, and cut me off if you want, okay, Sue, because you know I can go on.
Well, no, I'm good. Yeah, I know. I'll tell you when I need to cut you off or put you in a slightly different direction. Go ahead. I want to hear this. This is great.
So basically my job is, so let's say I'm working with you, Sue, okay? So I have the lower self version. Just imagine, okay? So I'm in the middle, and I have the lower self version on my left-hand side. So I have Sue, the third and fourth dimensional Sue, on my lower self, onto my left, and I'm holding your hand. And then on the right side, I have the fifth dimensional higher self version of Sue, and I'm holding her hand. So I'm holding two Sue's hands. Okay, the lower self version and the higher self version, okay, and I'm in the middle. My job is to connect your two hands together and step away so that you roll into your higher self and I'm no longer in the picture. So my job is to make myself obsolete in your life.
What a lovely job. And really, what I mean, yes, not to be obsolete, but to have left that kind of fusion, if you will, an imprint, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm experiencing it. Some people experience it sooner than later. Mine has taken a little longer, perhaps because I've had a little more years, but for whatever the reason, it really is an amazing experience. And so keep going, but I want you to get us to the point where we understand how you envision the future as a result of this work. Yeah, okay. I mean, that's just really sort of important because you have such a keen insight. And so share that with us, if you will, and can.
Okay, well, there is, the funny part of that is there is no insight on that because there is no such thing as a future. So there is only your now. There's only your state of business. So all I do is I look to my next step. I do not look to the future. Doesn't mean I don't plan. Okay, yes, I can absolutely plan. You know, I'm doing a talk next month. So of course, I have to plan for that talk for sure. But what I do is I plan in my now moment. So in terms of that, okay, there is an overall picture, but you can't, if we get caught up in that, then we lose sight of being in our isness. So it's a very, very tricky balance to play when you're starting to learn how to do this work. Because it really is the power, your only power, as you know with one of the tenets, the only power is in your isness. If you are not in your now, you are powerless. That is the nature of the human being, and which, as you know, is a human experiment, but that the only power is in our isness. Now, having said that, where we are going, okay, in terms of understanding this isness, where we are going is we are moving towards becoming the new human, which means we are moving into this work. anyway. I can't speak for all work, and I can't speak for everybody on the planet, but what I can say is people who are attracted and resonate with this work have the capacity to move towards the lowest level of fifth dimension, the lowest level fifth dimension on the planet. And I don't know of there may be other works that are doing the same thing. I'm not sure, but I can only speak to this work. What I do know is
what does that mean? The lowest level of fifth dimension. I just describe that a bit.
Okay, fifth dimension is you become your higher self. So fifth dimension is you become your multidimensional self, and you become the embodiment of all that is. In fifth dimension, there is no time, there is no space, there is only your isness. Okay, fifth dimension is there. There are individuals who have been here in the past who have been fifth dimensional, and you and I have talked about this. One person I know of is the figure that is known as Jesus, but not the religious figure. Okay, I don't want to. We're not. This is not about Christianity. This is about what the person we call Jesus came here as. This person came here as somebody who embodied fifth dimensional reality, and he was here to show us who we have the capability of being. So basically, this is about stepping into our fifth dimensional self. Now, there are other very significant beings like Buddha and Muhammad and perhaps Hare Krishna and even Rumi, the great poet Rumi. They too were very significant. And a lot of people say, well, how can you just talk about Jesus and not talk about these others? And it's not that these others did not embody the same thing, but what I know from an experiential perspective is that I can speak for the image and the figure that Jesus was supposed to represent on this planet, okay? Not the religious figure that we have, attributed him to. There's no religious bias here whatsoever. So very well Buddha could have been the same, very well Muhammad and Rumi could have been the same. I just don't have that experiential awareness, but I can speak to the experiential awareness of the Jesus figure. So in essence, that's what fifth dimension is. It's stepping into that higher self version of who we are, and there actually is a physical higher self body that is a slightly different structure than who we are here in the third and fourth dimension. We are carbon based here. As we raise our vibration moving into fifth dimension, we become more crystalline based, and we become a lighter body version of who we are. And in essence, what that means is we start to access our multidimensional self. And in that realm of awareness, we instantly create. We create instantly because there is no time and space. We have the ability to be multidimensional. And to give a person an example would be something like in dreams. When we dream, we're one place, and all of a sudden we're somewhere else, and we have no idea how we got there. One minute we're in a plane, the next minute we're on the ocean, and we have no idea. When we recall the dream, we have no idea how we got there. We just got there because your thought is instant. So you instantly change. So you create your reality from a consciousness creates level, as opposed to third and fourth dimension, where we create reality from our thoughts and our emotions. And that's why we need to clear all that negative thoughts and emotions to move into that fifth dimension. We need to clear all of the negativity before we move into that fifth dimension reality. And we do that by becoming responsible for our thoughts, words, feelings, and actions, which is what Shift to One is all about. It's about clearing all the negativity, and so that we are completely responsible for everything we say, do, think, and feel. Once we have that level of responsibility, once it becomes almost second nature to us, we move into moving into that fifth dimension vibration.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's it. You said it very beautifully. It takes time and practice to get there. But as you get there, and I think for some of us, I think it takes very little time. For others of us, it takes a lot more time. And yet, there's little bits of steps that get you there, and really learn how to, I guess, let go of those emotions and thoughts. And for all of us, I'm sure everybody can resonate with the fact that it really is difficult not to think. And I don't know if I shared this with you, Sandra, but often throughout this time to help me, I sort of walk around the house from room to room and say, don't think, don't think, don't think, don't think, because it's detrimental to my being, and that's what you've really helped us learn,
Yes.
how to be. And that's amazing.
And what I would say is instead of using the word don't, how about feel, 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 feel? Because that's half the time. So instead of don't think, you could say feel twice. Much more.
Okay.
And the other thing too is don't forget how powerful, and you and I are learning this every day, how powerful joy is. Don't forget to laugh whenever you're feeling down. Just laugh, belly laugh. Do whatever you can. Find something to have fun with. Laugh your head off. And that will get you to a place of joy, and that will get you to that whole gratitude. That's where you truly shift your vibration. The space, the gratitude, being in gratitude is the launching pad for a new vibration. So it's really, really important and easy to do.
It's perfect. I'm going to just stop you for a moment because as you said gratitude, I was thinking of saying thank you because we've got no time left or very little left. I have a few things that I have to share. And so for now, we can do this again and expand it a little more, Sandra, but wow, you shared with us so much wonderful information, your beautiful energy. I think everybody that's been listening will all agree. So I'm going to thank you for giving us just a small part of you and who you are tonight. It's been a real pleasure having you as part of this 30 minutes.
Well,
go ahead.
I just want to say thank you, and you know what? I have to mention one thing. I am doing an event called Trigger Your Happy for anybody in the who's here in the Toronto area on April 6th and 7th, and one of the organizers has asked that I just mention that online. And just for anybody who's interested, just go to triggeryourhappy.ca, and there's a ton of wonderful speakers, including Aggie Stassinopoulos, who wrote a wonderful book called Unbinding the Heart. So it's a real heart-centered weekend for anybody who's in the Toronto area.
Terrific. Thank you. We will look into that, and please mention it again to us, but I hope everybody shared that. So next week, I will be doing another mini numerology call-in show. It seems that everybody enjoyed it, and we were often not able to accommodate everyone in one show. If you do want another reading next week, I will need your pertinent information as soon as possible. That is your birth date, month, day, and year, your birth name as on your birth certificate, first, middle, and last. Please email it to me as soon as you can at Susan, S-U-S-A-N, at creativelinks, L-I-N-K-S, .info. Again, it's Susan at creativelinks, L-I-N-K-S, .info. As I said, there's only time for about 3 or 4 callers, so the sooner you send the information, the more likely you will be able to have a reading. Also, for the rest of March and for all of April, I will be giving a discount on any and all of my counseling services, including a more in-depth numerology reading. Please take a look at my website. That's www.creativelinks, again, links.info. And certainly don't hesitate to call or write to set up a chat or a session. I will leave you tonight with these words of wisdom. Every person, all events of your life are there because you have drawn them there. What you choose to do with them is up to you. Again, thank you for listening tonight, and have a wonderful week full of love and light. Enjoy a sense of oneness, and also enjoy the rest